Good afternoon. This is All India Radio. I'm Abhishek Mukhopadhyay and with me is Anuja Kumar with the Midday News. The headlines. Prime Minister Narendra Modi chairs an all-party meeting to put forth the government's legislative agenda for budget session of Parliament. Over 35 lakh frontline health workers administered COVID-19 vaccines in the country so far. Recovery rate improves to 96.98%. Bihar government decides to reopen schools for class 6 to 8 from 8th of next month. France closes borders to most non-EU travel due to a continuously high infection rate and new mutations of coronavirus. And the nation pays homage to Father of the Nation Mahatma Gandhi on his 73rd death anniversary. As the nation fights the COVID-19 pandemic, we begin with a message of precaution to stay safe and protected by following these three simple steps. Wear a face mask, maintain 2 gaz ki duri for social distancing, focus on hand and face hygiene. Now the news in detail. All-party meeting is underway under the chairmanship of Prime Minister Narendra Modi in New Delhi. In the meeting, government's legislative agenda for the budget session of Parliament will be put forth. During the virtual meeting, opposition parties are likely to demand a debate on the farmers' ongoing agitation at various border points of Delhi. The opposition parties had raised a similar demand at an all-party meeting convened by the Lok Sabha Speaker, Om Birla, yesterday, but the government suggested that the issue of farmers' agitation can be raised during the debate on the motion of thanks to the President's address, for which 10 hours have been allocated in Lok Sabha on February 2nd, 3rd and 4th. This time, the customary all-party meeting has been held after the beginning of the session. The budget session began yesterday with President Ramnath Kovind addressing the joint sitting of both the houses of Parliament. Amid the coronavirus pandemic, Rajya Sabha and Lok Sabha are meeting in shifts of 5 hours each to ensure distancing norms. While Rajya Sabha will meet in the morning, Lok Sabha will meet in the second half of the day. More than 35 lakh frontline health workers have been administered COVID-19 vaccines in the country so far. The Health and Family Welfare Ministry has informed that a total number of 5,71,974 people have been inoculated with COVID-19 doses in the last 24 hours. Uttar Pradesh stands at top in the vaccination drive with over 4,63,000 jabs, followed by Rajasthan, Karnataka, Maharashtra and Madhya Pradesh. Meanwhile, the country's COVID-19 recovery rate reached 96.98%, with a total recovery of more than 14,800 patients within 24 hours. The ministry said more than 1 crore 4 lakh patients have already been recovered from this disease. Active cases of COVID-19 are on a continuous declining trajectory in the country. According to the Health and Family Welfare Ministry, there are 1,69,824 active cases in the country, which comprises only 1.58% of the total positive cases. A total number of 13,083 new cases have been reported in the country in the past 24 hours, taking the cumulative positive cases to over 1 crore 7 lakh. The Health Ministry said 137 deaths have been reported within 24 hours, taking the toll to over 1,54,000 across the country. The Indian Council of Medical Research said that various laboratories have conducted more than 7,56,000 tests of coronavirus samples in the last 24 hours, and more than 19 crore 58 lakh tests have been done in the country so far.
The Union Health Ministry has asked all the states and union territories to initiate vaccination of frontline workers against COVID-19 from the first week of February. Vaccination of healthcare providers that began on January 16th to continue simultaneously, the ministry said in a letter to the states and union territories. In the letter, Health Ministry Additional Secretary Manohar Agnani said the database of frontline workers is being updated by states and UTs in collaboration with the respective line ministries. As on date, the database of more than 61 lakh frontline workers has been uploaded on CoWIN portal. A pan-India COVID-19 vaccination drive initiated on January 16th aims to cover healthcare and frontline workers in the initial phase. The letter mentions that the required doses of both vaccines, Covishield and Covaxin, have been allocated to the states and UTs, and further augmentation will be made through subsequent releases. The Union Territory of Puducherry has recorded 43 new COVID-19 cases after screening 2,685 persons as on today. More from our Puducherry correspondent.
Of the 43 total new admissions, 25 are from Puducherry region, 6 from Karaikal and 12 from Mahe region. While 43 new cases recorded, 32 patients got cured and discharged. The statistics released by the Health Department revealed no death is reported today. Currently, there are 306 active cases, including 116 in hospitals and 190 under home quarantine. The overall tally stands at 38,094 cases with 647 deaths. With this, the total recovery rate stands at 97.56%. And the fatality rate is stable at 1.66%. Chandramohan, AR News, Puducherry.
In Tripura, 2 new cases was recorded and 2 patients recovered from the virus in the past 24 hours. The recovery rate stands at 98.77%. With this, the total number of cases have reached 33,348, out of which 32,915 patients have recovered so far. In the state, the total caseload of active patients has come down to 19 as of today. According to the State Health Bulletin, over 6.06 lakh samples have been tested till yesterday evening. In Telangana, over 1,66,603 health workers have been vaccinated so far, while the COVID vaccination is underway smoothly. The vaccination for health workers and staff in private sector will continue after the 2nd of February. According to the State Public Health Director, Dr. Srinivas Rao, no case of severe health issues were reported so far after vaccination. So far, 64% of the healthcare workers in the public sector have been vaccinated, while it is 35.5% in the private sector. Meanwhile, the state reported another 186 COVID-19 cases since yesterday, taking the total COVID cases to 2,94,306. The state conducted over 33,000 tests and the recovery rate improved to 98.65%, with 367 more people recovering yesterday.
In Bihar, COVID-19 vaccination drive will now be carried out on all 7 days a week, depending on the requirement of each district. Health Minister Mangal Pandey said the number of session sites will be increased to nearly 500 from the existing 300 per day. He said the health department is now targeting to vaccinate 50,000 healthcare and frontline workers every day. 1,06,025 people have been vaccinated in the state so far. 5,62,000 health workers have registered for vaccination. Meanwhile, COVID-19 recovery rate has improved to 98.92%. The Bihar government has decided to reopen schools of class 6 to 8th from the 8th of next month. This decision was taken at a crisis management group meeting, which was chaired by Chief Secretary Deepak Kumar. Schools were closed since March 14th last year due to corona pandemic. Schools have to follow COVID protocols and detailed standard operating procedures have been issued in this regard. The SOPs include compulsory wearing of face mask, social distancing and 50% attendance. All government school teachers have been instructed to remain present at their respective schools.
In Mizoram, a total of 8,497 health workers have been administered COVID-19 vaccine so far. State Immunization Officer Dr. Lalzaumi said that there is no report of any adverse case after vaccination. Meanwhile, the state is witnessing a declining trend in active cases of COVID-19. The total number of active cases has dropped down to 39 as of today. Also, the recovery rate of COVID-19 has improved to 98.97%. According to the state medical bulletin, 3 new cases were recorded while 5 patients recovered in the past 24 hours. With this, the tally has reached 4,366, of which 4,318 patients recovered from the infections. Due to COVID-19 pandemic, gold registered the lowest demand in 11 years at global level. As per the data released by World Gold Council, demand for jewelry recorded all-time low as per available records. It decreased by 34% at the global level and 42% in India. More from a Mumbai correspondent.
In the year 2020, 3,759 tons of gold sold all over the world. After 2009, first time gold demand was registered lower than 4,000 tons at a global level. World Gold Council, in its report Gold Demand 2020, said the global gold market was ravaged by COVID-19 disruptions throughout the year, while the record high prices were a mixed blessing. Indian consumer registered demand for 446 tons of gold in the year 2020. It is down by 35% as compared to the demand for year 2019, where Indian consumers requested 690 tons of gold. As per available records, 2020 marked a record low of 1,411 tons for gold jewellery demand. Indian consumer registered demand for 315 tons of gold jewelry, which is 42% lower than the previous year, where jewelry demand was 544 tons. Country's gold import decreased by 52% in year 2020. Jeevan Bhavsar, AIR News, Mumbai.
Bahrain has said that the Made in India vaccine which it received yesterday is going to be of great help for its people. In an exclusive interview to AIR News, the ambassador of Bahrain to India, Abdul Rahman Al Qaud, said this proves the strength of the long-standing friendship between the two countries.
I would like to express our appreciation to the leadership, government and people of Republic of India for their continuous collaboration and effort to strengthen the bilateral relation, which continues to deliver on the aspiration of both countries. The Kingdom of Bahrain and the Republic of India share historical and ever-growing friendship. Bahrain appreciates and welcomes the Republic of India cooperation in overcoming challenges presented by the COVID-19 pandemic.
France will close its borders to non-European Union countries for all except essential travel starting Sunday. However, French Prime Minister Jean Castex has resisted imposing a widely anticipated third lockdown. Testing requirements from inside the EU will also be tightened. The French Prime Minister said that the next few days will be decisive in terms of any possible new restrictions. Infections remain high in France despite recent rule tightening. The new restrictions may affect the UK, now no longer in the EU. However, UK Transport Secretary Grant Shapps clarified on Twitter that the change would not impact hauliers transporting goods to or from the UK.
The United States Centers for Disease Control and Prevention, CDC, has issued an order requiring the use of face masks on nearly all forms of public transportation starting Monday. The order requires face masks to be worn by all travelers on airplanes, ships, trains, subways, buses, taxis and ride shares and at transportation hubs like airports, bus or ferry terminals, train and subway stations and seaports. On January 21st, President Joe Biden had ordered government agencies to immediately take action to require masks in various modes of public transportation. Under former President Donald Trump, a CDC push to mandate masks in transit was blocked and the agency instead had only issued strong recommendations for mask use. The former president had also rejected efforts by Congress to mandate the mask use. Prime Minister Narendra Modi will address the 125th anniversary celebrations of Prabudh Bharat at 3:15 p.m. tomorrow. The event has been organized by Advaita Ashram situated at Mayavati Ashram in Uttarakhand. Prabudh Bharat, a monthly journal of the Ramakrishna Order, started by Swami Vivekananda in 1896. The journal, Prabudh Bharat, has been an important medium for spreading the message of India's ancient spiritual wisdom. Its publication was started from Chennai, erstwhile Madras, where it continued to be published for 2 years, after which it was published from Almora. Later in April in 1899, the place of publication of the journal was shifted to Advaita Ashram, and it has been continuously published from there since then.
Israel Ambassador Ron Malka today said that there might be a connection between yesterday's blast near the Israel embassy and the 2012 attack targeting the country's diplomats in Delhi. Malka said that an investigation is underway and New Delhi has given its assurances and offered all support, protection or assistance. On February 13, 2012, an Israel embassy car exploded when a magnetic bomb stuck to it went off in a high security in New Delhi, injuring the wife of an Israel defense envoy to New Delhi. On the same day, a bomb was also planted under an Israel diplomatic car in the Georgian capital Tbilisi, but it failed to detonate. A low-intensity explosion took place near the Israel embassy yesterday. No injuries have been reported in the incident so far. Windscreens of several cars parked in the vicinity of the embassy on Dr. APJ Abdul Kalam Road were found damaged. Malka suspected that yesterday's blast outside the Israel embassy could be a terror attack. Asserting that Israel has full trust in the Indian authorities, Malka said that there is a full collaboration between Indian and Israel authorities. External Affairs Minister Dr. S. Jaishankar spoke to Israeli Foreign Minister Gabi Ashkenazi last evening and assured him of fullest protection for the embassy and Israeli diplomats. President Ramnath Kovind today launched the first round of Pulse Polio Program 2021. He launched the program by administering polio drops to children at Rashtrapati Bhavan. First Lady Savita Kovind, Health Minister Dr. Harshvardhan and Minister of State for Health Ashwini Kumar Chaubey were present on the occasion. Tomorrow is Polio Vaccination Day, also known as the National Immunization Day or Polio Ravivar. In Uttar Pradesh, 10 people were killed and 15 seriously injured in a tragic accident on Muradabad-Agra highway this morning. SSP Muradabad, Prabhakar Chaudhary told AIR that accident happened due to low visibility in the morning around 8 a.m. when a minibus collided with tanker while overtaking another vehicle. Chief Minister Yogi Adityanath has expressed deep grief over the accident and asked officials to provide every possible help to the injured. The state government also announced an ex gratia of 2 lakh rupees each to the next of the kin of the deceased and 50,000 to those who are injured. You are listening to the Midday News on All India Radio. A reminder of the headlines before we move on. Prime Minister Narendra Modi chairs an all-party meeting to put forth the government's legislative agenda for budget session of Parliament. Over 35 lakh frontline health workers administered COVID-19 vaccines in the country so far. Recovery rate improves to 96.98%. Bihar government decides to reopen schools of class 6th to 8th from 8th of next month. France closes borders to most non-EU travel due to continuously high infection rate and new mutations of coronavirus. Nation pays homage to Father of the Nation Mahatma Gandhi on his 73rd death anniversary. For quick news updates round the clock, follow us on our Twitter handle @AIR News Alerts. चलो मिलकर एक शुरुआत करें, चलो एक फैसला आज करें, मास्क नहीं तो टोकेंगे, कोरोना को रोकेंगे, चलो एक इरादा करते हैं, चलो कुछ वादा करते हैं, मास्क नहीं तो टोकेंगे, कोरोना को रोकेंगे.
The government has said that the country is witnessing a V-shaped economic recovery, which is a testimony to the resilience and intrinsic strength of its economy. It happened due to mega vaccination drive, robust recovery in the services sector, and robust growth in the consumption and investment. The economic survey table in the Parliament projects India's real GDP to record 11% growth in financial year 2021-22 and nominal GDP to grow by 15.4%, the highest since independence. Speaking to reporters in New Delhi, Chief Economic Advisor K. Subramanian said V-shaped recovery is due to resurgence in high-frequency indicators such as power demands, rail freight, e-way bills, GST collection and steel consumption. He said during high uncertainty, policy should minimize large losses. The CA said early intense lockdowns saved lives and helped faster recovery.
India focused on saving lives and livelihoods, took short-term pain for long-term gain, recognized that while GDP growth will recover, and it has, lost human lives cannot be brought back. This was the humane principle that guided India's policy response. India was the only country to announce a slew of structural reforms. India's demand-side measures are also different from the other countries, were more calibrated, recognizing the simple idea that pushing the accelerator, works only when the brakes are removed. The V-shaped economic recovery, without a second wave makes India therefore a sui generis case in mature policy making. The mega vaccination drive that is now on should enable this recovery, especially in the services sector.
Mr. Subramanian said, hence India announced discretionary measures to unlock phase as part of Atmanirbhar Bharat package. Illustrating that India's debt is sustainable, Mr. Subramanian noted that even if India were to have the real GDP growth rate as low as 3.8% each year from financial year 2023 to financial year 2029, the debts will still come down. He said India has a track record of having adopted expansionary fiscal policy, focus on infrastructure spending, and there is a need to replicate the same. Union Budget 2021 is going to be presented on Monday. Amid the impact of COVID-19 pandemic on the economy, experts and people have various expectations from this budget. Talking to AIR News, Chartered Accountant Alok Kushwaha expressed hope that the taxation load would be reduced to give relief to the common people.
I have got two perspectives here. First, as a common tax-paying citizen of this country, Madam Finance Minister put stimulus in the budget so that our economy is up and running again. We need to get back the fastest growing economy tag back. Second perspective, as a practicing chartered accountant, I would like to lessen the taxation load, both indirect tax and direct tax. It would go a long way to help relieve pain on common citizens.
Our Mumbai correspondent also spoke to expert on budgets. Commodity and bullion market expert Amit Modak explained the process of budget, responsibilities on government in simple language and expected reduction in GST rates on bullion.
सरकार के पास लिमिटेड सोर्सेज है कि जिसके चलते सरकार अपनी कुछ मदद कर सकता है. लग्जरी गुड्स को हायर टैक्सेशन एक्सेप्ट करना पड़ेगा, तभी जाके जीवनावश्यक वस्तुओं को टैक्स का रिलीफ मिल सकता है. फिर भी मैं ज्वेलरी इंडस्ट्री से हूं, तो ज्वेलरी इंडस्ट्री में प्राइसेस बहुत बढ़ गए गोल्ड के, तो जीएसटी का रेट कम होना चाहिए ऐसा अपेक्षा है. लेकिन हम सरकार से अनुरोध करके उसके आग्रह नहीं कर सकते, क्योंकि कोरोना की परिस्थिति के कारण सरकार ऑलरेडी डेफिसिट में चल रही है, उसका इनकम कम हुआ है और खर्चे ज्यादा हो रहे हैं.
With the union budget going to be presented on February 1st, expectations among people from all walks of life are already building up. Women are no different. A report from a Bhopal correspondent.
The expectations of homemakers and women who run the household on a fixed budget shared one unanimous thought that food prices needs to be checked as it has an adverse effect on their kitchen budgets. Sandhya Kothari, a housewife from Narsinghpur district, shared her expectations.
घरेलू चीजें जैसे खाद्यान्न, सब्जियां और गैस टंकी, इन सब का दाम जितना पॉसिबल हो सके उतना न्यूनतम रहे. हमारे जो वित्त मंत्री हैं वो भी एक महिला है और गृहिणियों की समस्या को वो अच्छी तरह से समझ सकती हैं, तो निश्चित रूप से बजट में इन सभी चीजों का प्रावधान होगा.
Provision for women safety, inexpensive education for girl child, also quoted by women and housewives as their expectations from the budget. Pooja P. Vardhan, AIR News, Bhopal.
The nation pays homage to Father of the Nation, Mahatma Gandhi, on his 73rd death anniversary today. The day is also observed as Martyrs' Day. He was assassinated on this day in 1948. An inter-religious prayer is organized on the occasion of at Rajghat every year, where the President, the Vice President and the Prime Minister lay wreaths at Bapu's Samadhi. President Ramnath Kovind, Vice President M. Venkaiah Naidu and Prime Minister Narendra Modi today paid floral tributes to Mahatma Gandhi at his Samadhi in Rajghat on the occasion of his death anniversary. Lok Sabha Speaker Om Birla, Defence Minister Rajnath Singh, Housing and Urban Affairs Minister Hardeep Singh Puri, Chief of Defence Staff General Bipin Rawat, Army Chief General Manoj Naravane, Navy Chief Admiral Karambir Singh and Air Force Chief Air Chief Marshal R.K.S. Bhadauria were among those who offered tributes to the Father of the Nation at Rajghat on Martyrs' Day. An inter-religious prayer meeting was organized on this occasion. The nation also observed a 2-minute silence at 11 a.m. on Martyrs' Day today. In his message, President Kovind said people should adhere to his ideals of peace, non-violence, simplicity, purity of means and humility. He asked everyone to resolve to follow his path of truth and love. In a tweet, Prime Minister Narendra Modi said, Bapu's ideals continue to motivate millions. He said on Martyrs' Day, we recall the heroic sacrifices of all those great women and men who devoted themselves towards India's freedom and the well-being of every Indian.
Meghalaya State Assembly Speaker Metba Lingdo yesterday visited Arunachal Pradesh Legislative Assembly Secretariat in Itanagar to get a first-hand information of the National E-Vidhan project implemented in the Assembly. Arunachal Assembly is the first in the Northeast and third in the country to have successfully implemented the ambitious National E-Vidhan application NEVA project. Mr. Lingdo said that Meghalaya Assembly is planning to bring in the NEVA project and sought necessary guidance and assistance from Arunachal Pradesh Assembly. He also said that the permanent building of the Meghalaya Legislative Assembly is likely to be completed soon. The Bangalore Division of South Western Railways conducted a massive raid on illegal e-ticket selling agencies in Bangalore and seized live tickets and devices valued at 7,70,000 rupees. The Railway Protection Force personnel conducted raids at 10 places and arrested 10 offenders in the city. More from a Bengaluru correspondent.
The 5 teams of Railway Protection Force personnel conducted simultaneous searches based on the leads given by Cyber Cell of the Railways. The exact location of the offenders were traced down by the cell. Areas around the city in Chickpet, Magadi Road, Ramnagara and Kengeri, the raids were conducted. It was found that 27 IRCTC personnel IDs were misused by the offenders to extort premium money from the common public in the name of providing fast and assured booking of railway tickets. The offenders are booked under Section 143 of the Railways Act. Sudhindra, AIR News, Bengaluru.
Prime Minister Narendra Modi will share his thoughts with the people in the country and abroad in the Mann Ki Baat program on All India Radio tomorrow. It will be the 73rd episode of the monthly radio program. It will be broadcast on the entire network of AIR and Doordarshan and also on AIR News website www.newsonair.com and News on AIR mobile app. It will also be streamed live on the YouTube channels of AIR, DD News, PMO and Information and Broadcasting Ministry. AIR will broadcast the program in regional languages immediately after the Hindi broadcast. The regional language versions will be repeated at 8 in the evening. In Assam, in view of the upcoming assembly polls, the Excise Department has notified helpline numbers for receipt of intelligence input about illegal production, storage and sale of liquor, and to receive the grievances and information of violation of rule and distribution of liquor among voters to influence voting. The helpline numbers are 700-2231-557 and 700-2266-033. As per the notification, the officials will register every information and complaint received from general public or group and will accordingly pass on information to the concerned Superintendent of Excise to take action accordingly. Assembly polls in Assam are to be held this year.
In Jammu and Kashmir, 2 terrorists belonging to Hizbul Mujahideen outfit have surrendered before the security forces in Lelhar village of South Kashmir's Pulwama district. Giving details, a police spokesman said that the 2 terrorists were trapped after the security forces cordoned the area late last evening. 2 AK-47 rifles have been recovered from the surrendered terrorists. Inspector General of Police Vijay Kumar today made a fervent appeal to the youth who have joined terrorist ranks to return to their homes and start their life afresh. Kashmir Zone Police, through its official Twitter handle, while quoting the IGP, said that the society and most importantly parents of the misguided youth need them and so they should return and start a new life. External Affairs Minister Dr. S. Jaishankar has had a telephonic conversation with U.S. Secretary of State Anthony J. Blinken. Dr. Jaishankar warmly congratulated Secretary Blinken on his appointment and wished him success in his new responsibilities. Both leaders expressed their commitment to consolidate and expand the multifaceted strategic partnership. They appreciated the robust defense and security ties, growing economic engagement, productive healthcare collaboration, and strong people-to-people linkages as its important pillars.
Now let us take a look at the weather forecast for today. In Jammu and Kashmir, Srinagar witnessed fog in the morning and will have mainly clear sky later. The minimum temperature was -7 degrees Celsius and the maximum will be around 2 degrees. In Jammu, the minimum temperature was 5 degrees Celsius, while maximum will be around 20 degrees. City will have mainly clear sky. Leh will have mainly clear sky. The minimum temperature was -15 degrees Celsius, while the maximum will be around 0.6 degrees. Gilgit will have partly cloudy sky. Minimum temperature was -6 degrees Celsius, and the maximum will be around 12 degrees. Muzaffarabad will have mainly clear sky. Minimum temperature was 3 degrees Celsius and maximum will be around 18 degrees. In the national capital, Delhi, sky will be mainly clear. Minimum temperature was 5 degrees Celsius and maximum will be around 21 degrees. Mumbai will have mainly clear sky too. Chennai witnessed fog in the morning and will have partly cloudy sky later. Minimum temperature was 23 degrees Celsius and maximum will be around 31 degrees. Kolkata witnessed fog in the morning and will have partly cloudy sky later. Chandigarh witnessed fog in the morning and will have mainly clear sky later. Dehradun is experiencing a cold wave. Minimum temperature was 4 degrees Celsius.
And now, before we end the bulletin, the headlines once again. Prime Minister Narendra Modi chairs an all-party meeting to put forth the government's legislative agenda for budget session of Parliament. Over 35 lakh frontline health workers administered COVID-19 vaccines in the country so far. Recovery rate improves to 96.98%. Bihar government decides to reopen schools of class 6 to 8 from 8th of next month. France closes borders to most non-EU travel due to continuously high infection rate and new mutations of coronavirus. And the nation pays homage to the father of the nation, Mahatma Gandhi, on his 73rd death anniversary. And for details of these stories and more, log on to our website www.newsonair.com and News on AIR app. And with that, we end the Midday News.